Hello, welcome to Cinema Savvy, and welcome back to another movie review. I'm Chris Garner, joined tonight with George Aldridge. It is May 24th, and we're doing a Star Wars review. This feels very wrong because it seems to have always taken the December date now. But we are here to give our discussion, spoiler-free discussion, on Solo, a Star Wars story, which is the latest installment in these whole slew of Star Wars spin-off stories. Directed by Ron Howard. I guess we have to say that now. We're not going to go on a massive tangent and talk about the production of this film, but obviously people know about the original directors, Phil Lord and Chris Miller. It's clear that at this point, Ron Howard has reshot enough of it to give him sole director's credit. We both saw this movie today. We didn't do a midnight. This will be the first new Disney Star Wars film that we actually haven't done a midnight screening for. And I guess that kind of speaks to our initial going in anticipation for the movie, and that there pretty much was no anticipation at all for this one. But you went a lot earlier than me. You went to an 11 a.m. showing. I went to a 5:15 showing in the afternoon. We sort of go into this talking about our build-up or anything like that. Was there any shred of excitement when you woke up this morning?
Not necessarily this morning. It was last night. There I was, addicted to Football Manager as the times have begun. And it got to 12:30. And I was there I should be at the cinema, shouldn't I? It was that kind of soul thought. Then it's 2 o'clock. I was there I would be finishing at the cinema, wouldn't I? And then I went to sleep. And then I had a message off one of my friends when it's midnight. Dave obviously has been on the channel last week. It was, keep off the internet, trust me. Now, that said, that means something major has happened in the film. And obviously my showing is 11 a.m. and I wake up at 8:30, 9, so it doesn't make any impact. But I wouldn't say they gave me hope. That made me think, right, something happens, which is the main thing, because obviously, spoiler alert, he's going to get Millennium Falcon. But I think the big thing for me of this film was I don't want to say the reviews going up, but I just assumed, as the more they've marketed this film, and over the last 2-3 weeks, I wouldn't say I've got hyped at all, but I've been a lot more comfortable with it, in the sense that 3 months ago we had no trailer and only stories about the background. This time we had some really good posters. I think a strong.
Well, there was those posters that came out that were apparently plagiarized off that other artist. Remember those that came out with
really random,
the graffiti style on them? Yeah.
And I don't think there's been a court case, so I'm presuming a guy tries to jump into the limelight.
You know that Kathleen Kennedy settled it out of court. Just pay the money.
He's just disappeared.
Pay some of that dollar they got off Black Panther or Infinity War. You'll be fine.
They're minted this shit. That's all we need.
Oh god, yeah.
They're sorted. I'd say the last 2-3 weeks, the review. I mean, I think not arrogance, but they did the premiere very early in America, the 10th of May. The European one was at Cannes last week. I think Cannes was the turning point for me, was when I saw the clip that they got a 4-minute standing ovation. At Cannes, that doesn't actually mean much. They boo you if they don't like the film. They clap you if they do. To me, that just meant that it's actually all right. And the reviews went up. I don't read reviews, but I did check the Rotten Tomatoes score, and it was fine. It's kind of what I thought it would be, given the last couple of weeks. So I wasn't hyped, but I was in a state of mind where, you know what, I've got no expectations, so I think I'm going to go in this. I think I said it to you before. I think I'm going to go watch this film, and I think it's just going to be fine.
Yeah,
it'll be fine. There's going to be some issues. There's going to be some good stuff, and that was my thoughts going in. And I had a very, very different story to you on how the film went, but I had a very pleasant surprise today, I think, with this film.
Yeah, no, I think this is going to be another one where we're going to differ greatly on this one. But for me, everyone knows, I was not looking forward to this movie at all. As soon as it was announced that it was going to be done, I thought, what's the point in this? We don't need this. And then that was just sort of capped off with all the production history of this thing as well. As you said, the fact that we got relatively no trailers up until a couple of months before this thing was coming out, it looked like it was in really bad shape. It was sort of morbid curiosity at this point as to whether, is this going to be like a Suicide Squad? Is this going to be like a Justice League where when you watch it, you can tell what was changed, you can tell what was taken out? I can honestly say that you can't tell. I think it runs very smoothly. There might be some parts where some people might critique it and think, was that a Phil Lord, Chris Miller line? Because apparently I think they kept the same script. I think it was more just the delivery where they went back over it. But maybe we'll never know. I woke up this morning. I was like, okay, after work, I'm going to be seeing a new Star Wars movie. Then as the time went on, I was like, I'm seeing a new Star Wars movie. And there was a little childhood ember that like awakened in me again. There has been an awakening. Have you felt it? And I felt it this afternoon before I was going there. I was walking around the town like before I was going to the screening, listening to some Star Wars music, walking around to the Krennic Imperial suite from Rogue One. And then I sat down and I did try and avoid reviews. I really did, but it's very difficult. Like I did watch Jeremy Johns' review to get a little bit of an idea. Rotten Tomatoes comes out, and I try not to let that taint my opinion of it too much before going in. And actually, Dave, who was on our last Battle of the Brackets, he's been on a few of our videos. He went to the midnight last night and he uploaded his initial reaction about 3 o'clock in the morning, probably. He really liked it. You gave me like a little snippet this afternoon saying that you enjoyed it too. And there was a little bit of hope in me that I would like this movie. And unfortunately, I'm not going to beat around the bush anymore. I didn't like this movie. To the point where I was watching it and I was thinking, would I rather watch this again or Force Awakens or Last Jedi? 2 Star Wars movies, which are currently my least favorite Star Wars movies out of the entire saga. It didn't like offend me or anything. I didn't get like really angry. There's 2 moments, which I'm going to say for a spoiler review, which got me angry. But I just sort of let it sort of wash over me. It was a movie that I watched. I think I said to you, it was a collection of scenes, moving images, edited together in some sort of order that I watched. And that's about it. In terms of like the acting, I thought the acting was pretty poor. Some of the set pieces are okay, but I didn't really get excited about it. And it was kind of, it felt almost to me like a very high budget direct-to-video Star Wars movie.
Oh, scathing.
Which, yes, a little bit, but that's my initial opinion right now. Bearing in mind, I've only seen it once. But even with that, with the episode ones that I didn't like, there was an aspect to me to try and watch it as many times as I can to convince myself to like it. With this, it feels like a one and done for me.
I think before I get to that, I want to say, when you said about the Star Wars, for me, it was the Lucasfilm logo, not once upon a time, what?
Once upon a time in a galaxy far, far away.
It was when that kicked in, I was like,
it's happening.
Yeah. And then obviously you don't get the no theme tune. I can see every way you come from, and I think with this we both absolutely love Rogue One, and we spoke before we hit record on this that we weren't massively hyped, and we did do a midnight together, but that was quite late.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't the day that tickets went on sale; it was like nearer the time. And I think the issue with this is, I mean, I know I enjoyed it, so I will see it again, not like 5 or 6 times like some of the other ones, but because it's a spin-off film, if one came out that I disliked, I wouldn't need to watch it because it's a spin-off film. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think when you get to the episode films are important. You know, you really want to like them. I'm yet to dislike one. So again, it's hard. But Last Jedi, like I saw it 4 times at the cinema. The first time, I liked it. There was some weird stuff, but I liked it, and I wrapped my head around it. The first time
you watch a new Star Wars movie doesn't count in terms of the episode ones, in my opinion.
Yeah, you have to give it the time.
Yeah,
it was only 17 hours after I watched it the first time, though. But I think with this, because I had no expectations, I think that helped. Rogue One, I had expectations. It was a Star Wars film. There'd been issues of the filming and whatnot, of the late reshoots. But I still had expectations. This is going to deliver. This is going to be incredible. And it surpassed all expectations. And so did this. But when you have the expectations on 2 complete different scales, it's really hard. Especially, it's like what we said again, I didn't ask for a solo film.
No one did.
No one did.
No.
And if the rumors are true, the first 2 spin-off films that have been in production is because they were the first 2 spin-off films that had solid treatments already in the works. So, of course, everyone knows the story that John Knoll came up with Rogue One years ago when he was working with the VFX of Lucasfilm. And I think the source I've been reading with Solo is that when Lucas decided he was going to sell before it went public, he actually hired Kasdan to write a solo treatment. So I guess Lucasfilm just took the first, Pablo Hidalgo said it too, they took the first batch of ideas that were concrete, and this is why it's been a film. But again, in this broad Star Wars universe where we're getting plenty of distant spin-offs in the future, Han Solo, to me, is the character that I never wanted to see. Yoda would be that, because I've never liked the character and I don't need to know anything about Yoda. that
There's a sort
Solo.
of blissful ignorance to some Star Wars characters not knowing
Yeah,
anything about them,
yeah,
isn't
and
there?
I think with Solo, because I always saw his origin as Episode 4.
Yeah,
That's where his character develops. And
yeah.
seeing this was, you showed me an amazing video last year, whereas they were predicting what's going to happen.
Oh, Red
We're
Letter
not,
Media, yeah.
yeah, we're not going
I
to do
can't
any.
wait for their review on this, by the way. Like, that's probably one of my most anticipated YouTube videos in the next couple of weeks.
I'm not going to obviously say any spoilers on this film and stuff, but it was like it was a bit of a checklist, this film. Luckily, there was only really 3 big moments, which I'm not meeting Chewbacca, Lando losing the Falcon. They're the big ticks, and the Kessel.
It's not
Run.
a spoiler, is it?
No, them 3 aren't spoilers. We know exactly what's going to happen. There were some really cool stuff added in with that. I will give that, but I think because my expectations were so low, I went in almost cold to the fact that I just wanted this film to work, and immediately the opening is the West, and I've seen a lot of people saying the same thing. As soon as you get past that first 10-15 minutes, the story picks up a bit without saying anything. And then I found it just a very enjoyable experience at the cinema. It's no Last Jedi, it's no Rogue One, but put in the Star Wars universe, I kind of thought I can dig this. I'd like quite a few things about this. I think the point of the episode film, not the point of the episode film, the point of the spin-off films, it is to enhance your experiences with the episode films. And I feel that when I go back to rewatch 4, 5, and 6 next time, I think there'll be certainly some moments where there'll be better attachment because of what happened in Solo. Not so much to the impact that Rogue One had when you see the episode 4 opening crawl, but to the point about there's going to be some bits which I think will make a good thing. But at the end of the day, this isn't. I've really enjoyed this film, but this isn't a perfect film. Not by a million miles.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect film. It has its flaws. But for me, I took it for what it is, and I think that was the key of this film today.
Yeah.
But the weirdest thing is, today I've seen a Star Wars film, and it's felt like any other cinema trip I've done this, except Avengers. That's its own class.
Yeah.
But it's felt like almost every other. Like I just went home. I just went home, messaged everyone what I thought, and then I've just carried on with my day. Yeah,
that's exactly the same. Like I got back, and I wasn't even mad. But I felt like I'd almost wasted a day a little bit watching this thing because I didn't care for it. It didn't have that lasting impact with me. Even like The Last Jedi or Force Awakens, even if you don't like it, there's arguments to be had with people on the internet. There's debates to be had talking about it. With this one, I don't think anyone's going to be talking about this one. A lot of I'm going to go into some criticisms now for me. A lot of them, even from the trailers, a lot of people leveled criticism at Alden Ehrenreich. I think that was unavoidable. The fact that you're getting from a beloved character like Harrison Ford playing Han Solo since 1977 to suddenly get a new guy and like thrust him into his shoes and expect people to take to it. I think you are going to get that backlash from fans and people that like the character of Han Solo. And I get the idea that as an actor, he probably wants to do his own thing with it. He can't do an all-out impression of Harrison Ford. He's got to bring something to the table. But when I watched this movie from the opening frame to the credits, not one single scene in this movie convinced me that this was a younger incarnation of that character that I see in A New Hope. He had none of the charm. He had none of the charisma. He was very one note. He felt very wooden. I wouldn't say he's an awful actor, but there just wasn't any sort of passion in what he was doing. And I wonder if had they have got a better actor, someone who could have like really got into the role and you could have seen that suave aspect to the character. Like Donald Glover, for example, with Lando, I thought they absolutely nailed. I don't think you could have got a better person to play a younger version of Billy Dee's character. But Alden, because he is the lead character, because this is the guy that you're following, I just couldn't get on board with it. And it wasn't really him either, like exclusively. It was a lot of the side characters for me. If you look at Rogue One, you can kind of say that, you know, Jin's a bit forgettable, but some of the side characters have a unique quirk about them. I didn't really get that with this one. You get introduced to this team led by Woody Harrelson. You've got Thandie Newton there. You've got this CGI alien character voiced by Jon Favreau. And then you get introduced to like Emilia Clarke as well. And there's a bunch of other characters. But if you ask me to explain their character, going back to Red Letter Media as well, they said this was to do with Phantom Menace. Describe the character without talking about their appearance or what they do as a profession. If you asked me to do that with a bunch of these characters in this film, I wouldn't be able to do it. Like Thandie Newton's character, absolutely just you know, a blank canvas. There's just nothing there for me. The CGI character that Jon Favreau plays, which reminded me of Rocket Raccoon, not much to his character. And it's quite a long film as well. 2 hours 15 minutes, and that's a long time to spend with characters that you're not really into. You're going to have characters like Chewbacca that of course you love, and because you haven't broken the mold, you've got a new actor playing him, but it's still Chewbacca. But I think it's the surrounding characters that really let this movie down. That a lot of the lines are very stilted when they're read, and I wonder if that's the fact that when they were originally written, they were played more for laughs and done in a jokey way, and now they've been told to sort of rein it back and play it straight. And I wonder if that's why it's not, gelling with me. That's a lot there. I've just given you a lot there.
You've given me the entire cast. Alden, right. So, I've seen Hail Caesar, and I thought it was tremendous in that. I was very shocked when they cast him as Solo, but I could see, like the lower half of his face. You can kind of see. Anyway, the first trailer was awful. Of course, there's been stories backstage, they're true or not, but after that first trailer, I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. And the second trailer was a bit better in this. I didn't mind him. I didn't see him as like Han Solo, but I certainly saw him as a young Han Solo, like a different Han Solo. It felt very much like the James Bond films. Not that James Bond has the level of intensity, because James Bond is a character from a book, whereas this is a character from this is a beloved character, and that character is Harrison Ford's character, not like a bit of some words on paper. And as the film grew, I thought he grew into the role more, and he had some of the mannerisms. There was some things, but I felt with him that he just went in for his own take on it, which I've got respect for, because he could have probably, not easily, but he could have easily just chimed in being Harrison Ford, which wouldn't have worked. Similar to like Donald Glover. Donald Glover worked because he was his own take on Lando. Just coincidentally, he's an incredible actor.
I compare
he has the charisma.
Go on, sorry.
I was saying with Alden, it's just it felt like a sort of James Bond film. You got your new James Bond. Let's see how this one fares for a bit. Not that they're going to do 6 or 7 different not Harrison Ford's Han Solo actors.
Oh God, I hope not.
But for what it was and what I expected from it, I thought it was a surprise. I don't think he had the best chemistry with Emilia Clarke.
No, I'll agree with that.
With Chewie, I mean, Chewie gets great chemistry with everyone in every film he's in, whether that's down to Jonas or Alden as well, but his scenes work best with him. I thought they gave him a good script in terms of a Han Solo character. He has some lines you'd expect to be from him. They have the development of him. That's my take on Alden.
I was going to say, when I watched the trailers for the first time, I would say, especially the opening 10 minutes of this film, it reminded me of Chris Pine's take on James T. Kirk from the recent Star Trek films. When we see him in 2009 Star Trek, where he's this hotshot pilot, sort of like breaking the rules, rebel kind of character. Reminded me more of a take on that.
He did remind me a lot of Kirk, to be fair, more than Solo. He had that curiosity, charisma, I think, with him. But then I think he worked best when he was in the banter with none other than Lando Calrissian, Captain Calrissian. Listen, we all knew going into this, Donald Glover was the best thing about this film. There's no denying that. The man's a genius. He's won Emmys, of course. He timed This Is America to come out 2 weeks before Solo. The finale of his show Atlanta to be 1 week before Solo. This kid is, I mean, he's not even a kid anymore, but he's merged it perfect. And you're like me, we've both watched Community, so we've known him from very far back now in terms of a film's calendar. And he delivered. A part of me was worried when the film started how I hyped up Donald Glover so much that he isn't going to be perfect. He's just going to be good. But no, he was perfect and beyond. He has mastered the role. He's made it his own. He has some of the best lines. Everything about him flourishes, from the costume to the ship and all of that. Donald Glover was one of the big selling points of the film. You can see why. I think he's the best thing about this film still coming out of it. Chewbacca was amazing. Great chemistry with Han. And he's always good to see on screen. It was a bit sad. When my criticism is episode 8, he doesn't do anything. He sits on a rocket Skellig. He tries to be a Porg and he captains Falcon. This bit gets him doing stuff. He literally German suplexes someone in the trailer. So Chewie was great. I'm happy he got a lot of screen time. It's always good to see him. Supporting role. Now, I love Woody as Tobias Beckett. I only see Woody Harrelson, though. That's not a bad thing.
It did feel a bit to me that he was phoning it in. Just a little bit in that he wasn't
felt
trying
very
to play
easy.
Different. Yeah. Exactly.
It's like every time Woody Harrelson's been Woody Harrelson, like, I'm the older mentor figure. I'm a bit evil. My dad was a hitman. I'm dangerous. That kind of thing. Woody was good. I liked him. We had a bit more of him than I thought we would, actually. I'll give him that. We didn't really get enough. I liked Jon Favreau's the monkey thing. We didn't get enough time with Thandie Newton. I'm allowed to say yes, I am allowed to say.
That's what I mean. For me, when I was watching this film, it didn't feel like there was enough downtime for the characters to like talk and flesh them out. It felt very sort of exposition action scene, action scene, and there were a lot of action scenes, and they went on for a bit too long, in my opinion. The bit that you see in the trailer, which looked like a great set piece, the monorail in the snowy mountains, that was almost like pod race level. That was almost Obi-Wan versus Anakin fight on Mustafar level. It really outstayed its welcome for me. There were a lot of action scenes like that, and I wondered if they
disagree. The pod race is amazing.
It's fine, but it goes on for like 15 minutes.
It could have been an hour. I would have still watched it.
I just think if they'd have stripped it back a little bit, I think they could have distributed the time a lot more, because it is 2 hours 15, but by the time we get to the end of this film, it doesn't feel like we really know these characters. Mostly the side characters. You talked about Emilia Clarke. They really big this thing up. From the opening of the film, they introduce you into this almost Bonnie and Clyde-like relationship with Han Solo and Emilia Clarke's character. And I've expressed my thoughts on Emilia Clarke many times before, pretty much on every single episode of our Game of Thrones reviews. Terminator Genesis, any opportunity I get to rag on Emilia Clarke, I always do it. And she's bad in this movie. She's exactly the same. She's always plays exactly the same character. And you're right, there is none of that Harrison Ford style chemistry with Carrie Fisher from Empire Strikes Back. There's moments where they try and recreate that. There's a scene in the movie, I'm not going to go into spoilers, where it pretty much is that frame for frame and how it's shot. And it just doesn't feel like it's justified. There's a lot of things in this movie, and maybe we will get a sequel. Maybe we will get another Solo spin-off film. There's moments in this film where it feels like it is leading into a sequel. Potentially there's enough material there. But I don't feel like, from how Han ends in this film, it still doesn't gel with me to how we meet him in that first opening scene from A New Hope. There's still some disconnect there that I'm not quite getting.
And this is the thing, where the film finishes... I know that I'm jumping way ahead, and I should be talking about Emilia Clarke, but the film, without spoiling anything, I don't feel like they're done with the Solo character, and the film doesn't feel like it's done with that either, because we haven't yet reached Lando, and I'm not talking, we haven't reached him in terms of that he's not sat down at a cantina. Han Solo is a very cynical character. He's never cared for the Force, stuff like that. And in this, he's full of optimism, which is a good thing. They develop the whole, don't trust anyone, kid, ever, that sort of thing. And we get hints at that, and the film finishes without developing it into. So whether it's their plan for the future or the end of this film is going to be the experience, which turns him into that, we don't have a clear, definitive message from that. So I'm going to say the potential is there. We know that Alden's on a 3-picture deal. Contracts mean nothing. Marvel do it out of security, so Disney's naturally the same. But going back to Emilia Clarke, I am also no fan of hers. I will say to this role seemed the best for her acting ability, that the very upper class sort of woman who is like, I'm trying not to give a spoiler. She's upper class, and it suits being Emilia Clarke with the posh English accent.
Yeah. Rather
than, if you see her in Game of Thrones, she's the really poor Khaleesi. She's got nothing, but she's really, really posh. Even she's this terrible, horrific upbringing. So I think this film suited her a bit more, and I preferred her in this to Game of Thrones and Terminator. Not that it's hard to prefer anyone else from the Terminator Genesis, but I certainly felt she felt more at home in this film. Should I say? Is that weird? But I just think there was lacking chemistry with her and Alden.
Yeah.
If you look at some of the other names that were almost cast, like Tessa Thompson, who was great in Ragnarok, there was Zoe Kravitz. They had a lot of choices. Actually, they went for Emilia Clarke, and looking at the shortlist, felt like the easy option because Game of Thrones is popular.
Absolutely.
But I'd say she was passable. I didn't mind her, but I didn't particularly care for the character of Kira, and I thought it'd be like this because everybody wants Lando Chewie, and Kira was like, okay, it's a new character, but it was like, the character that was in the way. That's what she was.
It's getting in the way of the real romance between
Han and Chewie. Yeah, exactly. There are a couple of good moments, but I can't spoil anything, can
Brinsley in the comments has asked us, can we talk about the droid or is that spoiler talk? No, we can talk about the droid.
L3.
Yes.
We can talk about the droid. It depends how much we're allowed to say about said droid.
I think I referred to her as LGBT, didn't I? When we were talking about the names. That's kind of... We can talk... So, L3...
She's a droid activist.
Yes. She believes in equal rights. If you go back to like the original Star Wars, where C-3PO and R2-D2 try and come into the cantina, and the bar guy's like, we don't serve your kind in here. Get out of here. She's trying to push for equal rights between droids and humans. There's a bit, I don't think this is spoiler talk, where she sees robots fighting each other, sort of like a Robot Wars match. And she's saying, you should stand up for what you believe in. You should break free from your chains. Most of her dialogue's kind of like that. She also sounds remarkably like Gwendolyn Christie's Phasma. Yeah. I got that from the trailer, and all the way through the movie, she sounded exactly the same. I actually quite liked her character. I think there's moments where that one personality type does kind of wear out its welcome a little bit. But to me, out of the entire cast, maybe bar Lando, she was the only one with some shred of personality, some mannerisms, some charisma, and I liked her character. I liked her interplay with Lando. I liked the way that she talked to people, even kind of the physicality. I'm assuming it was motion capture, but I liked her character. I'm not going to go and say like she's like one of my favorite Star Wars characters. Probably wouldn't even be in my top 20, but I enjoyed her in this movie for what she's in.
Oh, well, sorry. Now, I didn't mind the character. It was an interesting concept of the droid activists' rights. It was kind of funny, but it wore off very quickly, very soon. It felt... I mean, we said we weren't going to talk about... This felt like the filmmaker and Chris Lord. This felt like one of their wacky inventions. The droid that is about droid rights. Not that that's a bad thing, but that felt the most obvious of... what they were trying to do with this film. So I didn't mind her, but it was so distracting. She sounded like Gwendolyn Christie, and it's really, she got some really great scenes. She got a very important role coming towards the end of the film, and future films. And she has great chemistry with Donald Glover, and there's a very funny scene, a very dramatic scene as well, which worked. But I think she was alright. It was a nice. It was a bit different because we had K2. Who
I was going to say she felt a lot more like K2SO in this one. You need that sassy robot character.
Yeah, like we've had C-3PO, the servant, R2, the little shit who like doesn't like anyone. We've had like K2, the reprogrammed pro droid, who is, I wouldn't say he's sassy, but he's just like twisted, isn't he?
Yeah. And
then we had her, who's like completely different, and it was nice that we just didn't have a repeat of the previous droids. It felt new. So I want to give him a lot of credit for that. But L3 was all right. Very weird design.
Yes, it's a droid. It's a brand new droid. I don't think we've seen this in any other Star Wars movie. There's only really one other actor I want to talk about now, and that's Paul Bettany as Dryden Voss, who is the villain. I guess when the trailers came out, we get quick shots of him. He's got sort of like this lightsaber shuriken thing that we see in the trailer, and he's like smashing up a room. He's got a great look to his character. He's got these very bloodshot eyes. He's got scars all down his face. He essentially plays this gang warlord, this crime boss type character who sends the characters out and to do some missions for him, essentially. He's in about 3 scenes in the movie. There's not really much focus on him. He's there to send the characters off to do something and bring it back to him, and that's pretty much his entire involvement in this film. I think that Paul Bettany could have played a great villain, and I think it's changing the formula of Star Wars up a bit in that in each of the prequels, in the original trilogy, in the sequel trilogy, even in Rogue One, you have a character who's that villain character who's trying to stop them from doing something. You know, you've got like the likes of our favorite Krennic. You've got Kylo Ren with the new trilogy. In this, it doesn't feel like there's an all-out villainous presence in the movie. I don't know if that's a bold decision, but I think the film may have benefited with a stronger sort of antagonist force. You see them in the trailer. You've got that gang of like the Kylo Ren helmet wearing one with the spears. Again, they're not really villains. They just kind of show up a little bit. There's lots of obstacles in the movie, but no all-out antagonists. And I don't know if that was to the film's detriment or not.
Yeah, and I think as well, because it's a solo film, at the end of the day, we know the end goal in theory. If the lack of villain... And the thing is, when Paul Bettany's on screen, he doesn't feel like a villain. He's very nice. he's a gangster and he has a very posh yacht. He's in the trade that's singing Gold Club and all that jazz.
Mm-hmm.
But when he's talking, he's like I said, he's in very few scenes. He's great in every scene he's in.
Mm-hmm.
But then it just has that, at the end of the day, he has to be a villain, so he's the villain thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think that worked. And Paul Bettany came at the last minute. I feel that if he had been attached maybe longer, they could have reworked the scripts to help him out. So I feel like with screen time, he could have been far more important to the film.
Mm-hmm.
I liked what they did with him. And I think Paul Bettany had the charisma of making his own. He didn't feel like a Star Wars villain we've had before. He did feel very unique, but we just didn't get enough of him to sort of make him out to be an outright villain. Yeah. And like he's really friendly with everyone, and he's a gangster. He's got so much respect for them as a gang, but he's got to be a villain at the end of the day. That's almost his motive. And obviously the rest are in the spoilers. The real villain.
I think they really could have played him up, honestly. Like there's moments where, as you said, like he is cozying up to people. He knows how to play people, but there's moments where he can be truly terrifying and still like have a big grin on his face that he's about to kill someone.
When he gets bloodshot, like his scars like get redder.
Up, yeah.
It's like with them heat changing mugs where it's like perm. It's like
you know that Disney are going to be getting on that now. They've watched this video. That'll be the first piece of merchandise that comes out for this thing.
It was just amazing seeing him as Vision only a month ago, like in human form. Like he's had the full Pokemon experience. And like in this, he's evolving further, like with his little like red bits. But
he's such a great actor, though, Paul Bettany. Like, I mean, obviously he's worked with Ron Howard before with like Da Vinci Code, things like that. But he can play sort of innocent, nice character, but he can also play a very terrifying character. And he's not a very physically imposing guy either. He's quite weedy and
that's
slim,
the thing. Like he's quite tall and like there's something imposing about him, but it's just not visible.
Yeah,
but it's like you said, like he can go batshit crazy, like in this from like 1 to 10 immediately. Yeah. But I think what helps with him, he's so underused. I don't know if he picks his projects wise or just no one's really been after him, but he's a great actor. And I remember him from The Knight's Tale, and that's going back quite a while. But he's great in everything, and I just feel like they haven't really like used him to the best he could. Maybe in the future, have more chances now. Now he's out of his Marvel contract. Spoiler alert. He can probably have a bit more sort of leeway of what he wants to do. But it was really nice seeing him in this, and I much prefer the fact that we got Paul Bettany as in human form compared to the original motion captured half lion, half man thing.
Well, Brinsley put in the comments, was Paul Bettany a last minute casting? I didn't see him in any trailers. I think he was in the second trailer in a few brief shots, but Michael K. Williams was originally cast, and I think I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but essentially reshoots happened. I don't know if he couldn't make the reshoots with his schedule, so they had to cast someone else. They get Paul Bettany. But I didn't know all about that he was originally going to be a motion captured alien character.
It wouldn't have worked, would it?
No.
It would have felt so out of place.
But I'm trying to think what else we talk about. So I mentioned the action scenes. The action scenes really didn't do anything for me. And I think a lot of it is it's the prequel trap, right? There's Han, Chewie, Lando. They're all going to make it out of it. Like they have to be because they're in the original trilogy, and I think that takes a lot of the disconnect away. There is a big action scene in the movie which is kind of pivotal and sets up a line that's dropped in the original trilogy, which did have a fun Star Wars feel to it. It did feel exciting. I think a lot of that was to do with the soundtrack. But other than that, nothing kind of hit with me. I think that the characters and the action have to almost be synonymous with one each other. Like, you can't have one or the other. If you're not invested in the characters, then the action scenes aren't going to sway you. And this movie, to me, did feel like Disney are just wringing that Star Wars towel dry of the money. It didn't feel like we needed this movie. I would have quite happily have waited 2 years until episode 9. It is what it is. It's here. But in terms of the action, it didn't really do anything for me. I guess we could talk about the music a bit as well. So John Powell did the music for this thing, but John Williams came back just to do the Han Solo theme for this. I didn't really pick up on the Han Solo theme. I'm sure if I listened to the soundtrack itself, I might be able to, but there was no sort of big bombastic theme that played for me. You get the similar ones. You get the Star Wars fanfare plays. You get like the asteroid chase theme from Empire Strikes Back, which was nice to hear again. There's a few other ones that you'll recognize. Beyond that, the actual new soundtrack really didn't do anything for me. I really miss Michael Giacchino. Yeah. I've been on record before thinking that Rogue One's soundtrack is way better than John Williams' soundtracks for Force Awakens and Last Jedi. I stand by that, listening to it again today. Because Giacchino's so good at attaching himself to the sounds that are created from that original composer. And this really didn't feel like a Star Wars soundtrack to me for this one.
I didn't really notice anything. Like, you got, okay, they put the asteroid field music in, it's like, oh, that's from the original trilogy.
Yeah.
They put this in us from the original trilogy. Whereas, oh yeah, Rogue One was another spin-off. Also set closer to the original trilogy than this film. And it was so distant from it. It was great. And with this, I was actually disappointed. I love the scores. I really like the John Williams score from 7 and 8. I absolutely adore Michael Giacchino's. This was a massive disappointment. I'm struggling to find the Han Solo theme. Whether it comes up online tomorrow, but I didn't hear it in the film.
Yeah, same.
And I really hope it's not just the asteroid field slow down. And if it is, then the words will be said. But the music didn't work. Luckily enough, I liked some of the other stuff, but it's hit a point where, you know, they should have just brought back. He would have done it as well. He absolutely loved working on Star Wars films, and I bet he would have had a blast doing the film today, especially with sort of a heist angle to it all. It would have worked with what he's done in the past. He would have worked wonders for it, but.
See, I love John Powell as well. Like some of his other soundtracks, he's done the How to Train Your Dragon films, which have an amazing soundtrack. He's worked with John Williams on the Kung Fu Panda films. Love the soundtracks to those. He's done the likes of Chicken Run. He's mostly done animated films, and his soundtracks have a very unique sound. You can easily tell it's usually a John Powell score. And I could, with this, there's moments where they're flying the Falcon around, and it sounded like, what's his name? Hiccup was riding Toothless in the clouds from How to Train Your Dragon. It didn't really work for me. Again, he didn't have very long to work on it, though. I know some composers don't really get that long. I think he got a matter of weeks, wasn't it?
I must interrupt. We have some breaking news.
Okay.
Lucasfilm is developing movies on a slew of characters, including Obi-Wan Kenobi. James Mangold has just been hired to write and direct a Star Wars standalone film centered on Boba Fett.
So we've got Obi-Wan Kenobi and Boba Fett. Two individual ones, not in the same movie.
A slew of films, including Obi-Wan Kenobi.
We guessed that, and the Boba Fett one's been talked about for ages. Wasn't Josh Trank originally going to do? Was that a Bounty Hunter one or a Boba Fett one?
Josh Trank was going to do Boba Fett. Simon Kinberg, the Obi-Wan Kenobi, Stephen Daldry, as we spoke about a year ago, is sorry guys, this is turned into breaking news. Forget this film. Obi-Wan Kenobi, rumored Stephen Daldry was in talks a year ago to direct. He's still in negotiations. There are no writers on the script at the minute. However, James Mangold has been hired to write and direct a Boba Fett film. Now, I am very intrigued, but we cannot say any Han Solo spoilers.
Obi-Wan Kenobi was a given. The question with Boba Fett is, when's it going to be set? Will it be post-Return of the Jedi? Will the first scene be him clawing his way out of the Sarlacc pit?
James Mangold, who directed Logan, is going to be directing a Star Wars film. Now, somehow, we have to divert back to a Solo review.
Brinsley's put a, did you hear the news? Netflix now has more money than Disney.
Surely not.
Weren't they in debt by millions?
Yeah, they've got a really bad strategy.
I didn't hear about that. Wow. Okay, it's smart.
That's
smart
2 minutes ago,
though, isn't it? On the day that Solo
comes out. Oh my god! What time did this go? 1 minute ago. I got in there straight away.
Nice. Here's the scoop. We got the scoop, ladies and gentlemen.
Breaking news. I'm going to change the title.
We should. I mean, I'm not massively shocked because I think out of all the characters, we kind of expected that they'd do those at that point. But it's nice to get a final confirmation. I'm trying to think if I can say anything else about this movie. I think other than this, we'd be getting into spoilers, and we're going to save that for a separate video. I think we're going to try and shoot for a video on Saturday if we can. I think that's what we've got at the minute. My final thoughts on this one is that this movie really didn't do anything for me. It felt like it was going through the motions, and it felt like I was going through the motions. The characters I didn't think were that compelling. I didn't really care for much of the acting apart from Donald Glover, who I did think turned in a great performance as Lando Calrissian. It's nice seeing some of these things that are set up for the character, but you do find yourself just keep going like, that was from the original. That was from the original, and that's it, really. I probably won't go out of my way to watch this one again. I went to see it. There's some things I question in the canon now, whether I will accept it as my own personal canon. It is what it is. If you've liked the new Disney Star Wars movies, then I think you'll like this one. If you've been a bit hesitant with them, if you've had a lot of problems with them, then I think those problems will still be prevalent in this one. So choose your Star Wars movies carefully. If you're unsure, maybe wait it out, but it is a Star Wars movie. It's still a big movie for the next couple of weeks anyway before Jurassic comes out. But I will agree with you in that it doesn't. This one feels that it doesn't have the staying power like the other ones have, even with Rogue One. And I'm wondering if the Star Wars... It's going to be interesting to see how much money this movie makes, actually, if the Star Wars fatigue has set in with some people. Because I went to an evening showing, and maybe it'd be more packed this weekend, but it was honestly, the audience was dead. They didn't seem that engaged with it.
I only had 11 people in my screening today. So I can't talk about the audience, but overall, I had a fun time watching this film. I went in there with no expectations, and I came out very, very pleasantly surprised, and I thought I had a really good time. I'm excited to see it again, to watch it with some other people. So that's in its favour. I hope it has a rewatchability factor. There are some flaws with it, but if anyone knows this channel and our videos, then you know that I very much like my popcorn flicks, and I just see it as an addition to the Star Wars universe, just in the same way that you got like Clone Wars and Rebels. It's just a good story put together, but Donald Glover makes it. Ron Howard has exceeded all of my expectations, and I want to give a lot of credit to Kathleen Kennedy for sacking Phil Lord and Chris Miller, taking the balls to have that risk, to do it so late on in the process.
I still question why it was done so late, because she would have been on set, she would have been seeing what was going down, what was transpiring, and I don't know why she waited until... Because actually, someone at my workplace...
There's rumours that they put together a rough cut. Apparently that did it.
Didn't work then.
And that did it, which is, I mean, one day there's going to be an amazing documentary
I don't think
film. Like, it's going to be like the Disaster Artist, but budgeted, where they don't actually say any license terms to get fined. But it will come out more over the next couple. Now the film's out, I think over the next year or two, we'll get a bit more details.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Rogue One is still hush-hush from the original stuff, isn't there?
Yeah. I was going to say, because I was trying to get some information out of someone who is at my workplace. I need to word this as careful as I can. She's a little person, and she was actually on set with Phil Lord, Chris Miller, Alden, like the cast. I don't know which scene it would have been. Dressed up in costume. I think she was in motion capture or something like that. And I was asking questions like, did you get a sense of any uneasiness on set? And she says she was there. They didn't get any information about that they were going to be sacked or anything. She said it did seem a little bit strange. And then a week or two after that, that's when they were sacked. So this would have been right towards the tail end of the filming. I couldn't get any more information out than that. I don't think we're ever going to know. I think this is going to be one of the most closely kept secrets of Disney. They don't like bad publicity. You're never going to get that great behind the scenes feature that's really candid to show all the problems they had and how they managed to get out the film that they did. I don't think you're ever going to get that. But hats off to Ron Howard. He might have been a bit of a yes-man director that came in at the last minute, but it didn't feel disjointed. It does feel like a movie beginning to end. You can't really tell which director had which input. And I guess that's fair play to the reshoots, fair play to Ron Howard for seeing that through and getting it out there. But yeah, I think that's everything we can say for right now. Do you have any other final things to say, or should we leave it at that?
I think that's it. We will be back for a spoiler video. I'm not gonna lie, that's going to be more fun. There's a lot of there's somehow a humongous thing we have to talk about.
Yeah.
And if you've seen the film, you know exactly what we mean. But stick with us. We'll get a spoiler on probably Saturday night. We'll be going live with that. Hopefully, Tate can join us if he sees it. But that's going to be the next big one, because we've had to keep it quiet. But genuinely, quite a few things happen in this film, so it'll be easier to talk about come Saturday night, and we'll have more time to digest it. And you guys have seen it too. Yeah,
definitely. So that'll do it for our spoiler-free review on Solo, a Star Wars story. Be sure to comment, subscribe. Let us know what you thought of this movie. A few of you have in the comment section. Brinsley. Yeah, let us know what you thought of this thing. Again, because this is a spoiler-free video, please keep the comments spoiler-free as well. If you are going to give away a spoiler, make sure you've done a bunch of spaces. Do what you got to do. Be respectful of people that haven't seen this movie yet. Thank you to everyone who's watched the stream tonight, who's been commenting. And as you said, we'll be back for our spoiler review on Solo in a couple of days' time. So until next time, we'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching.